Hello everyone, welcome back. So you can see I'm playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 again, and today I'm going to be showing off Count Dooku and Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, he's not one that I typically play as. In general, I actually don't really play as the heroes that much, unless it's a mode for them, like Heroes versus Villains, or just a mode that I like playing as the soldiers a lot better. So if anything, I'll pick like the upgraded soldiers, like the clone commando's new, and he's actually really damn good. He has that little blade that he has in the game. It's the one from, what do you call it? Republic Commando. It's like the leader unit from that. It's not the exact one, but it's the class. It's called like the clone commando. Or commander. I think it's commando. Either way, he's very good. Actually, we'll find out right now. Yep, clone commando. See, there he is. Has the same cool visor and everything. He has that little blade that comes out. And this guy, I think, is new as well. He is also good. So yeah, if anything, I'll just play as one of these fellows down here. Typically don't play as the hero. So you have pull dominance, which is Anakin pulls enemies in front of him to a center point, leaving them open for attack. He takes highly reduced damage while holding the ability. When released, he pushes all the enemies around him, range being increased by the amount of damage taken. Then Anakin unleashes a heavy strike, breaking his opponent's guard and dealing high damage. Then you have Anakin's power intensify whenever he and nearby allies are attacked, building towards an ultimate punishment of a swift and inescapable grip, seizing all enemies around him. So yeah, for a Jedi, very aggressive abilities. Which obviously is leading into him becoming a Sith. If you didn't know, spoiler, this is Darth Vader. Pretty sure everyone knows by now. Yeah, he got a lot of crap in the movies, but I actually liked Hayden Christensen as him. I mean, I will say there are some scenes that definitely aren't done that well, like the whole sand scene and certain similar scenes like that with him talking to Padme just having really inhuman dialogue. So I will give them credit there. Some scenes actually don't work at all, but for the most part, I'll say he was a good lead up to Darth Vader. That's one thing people don't seem to get, is that the Sith are very emotional. So obviously, he would be whiny at times in the early stages, because that's the whole point of the Sith, is that they use their emotions. Even if you play the Old Republic, the MMO version, a lot of the Sith are like that, where they're just like, listen, you gotta be passionate about things. You gotta be angry, you gotta be sad. Basically just use your emotions. So yeah, they would have a character, especially Darth Vader with how powerful he is, they'd have a character that's very emotional, as you would imagine. Because that's where the dark side gets their power. Which is funny, because you'd think it's the other way around. Where it's like, yes, I use my emotions for good. But on the dark side, which is also what I've always found weird about the Jedi, is that they basically pushed him into becoming a Sith, because they're like, hey, be emotionless. Your mom just died, doesn't matter. Suppress it. Push it all down. Doesn't exist. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna kill all of you. So yeah, whole trilogy could have been avoided had they just, been normal people. But then again, that was kind of the whole point of the prequels, which people don't seem to get on the first view, is that you're not supposed to be seeing the Republic as like this great, holy thing that cannot be touched. The whole point of the prequels is to show you that the Republic was also not that great. So it's like, they pretty much set up their own failure in many, many capacities. Obviously, the biggest one is keeping Darth Vader off the council, which would have prevented the entire events of episodes 4, 5, and 6, had they just, been good to their own. But they were not. So yeah, pretty much just pushed him straight into the arms of a Sith, which I also like how they set that up, too. The fact that he actually did turn him into Mace Windu when he found out he was the Sith Lord. It shows that there definitely was some thought behind it, that he was thinking, you know what? Yeah, I'm a Jedi. This isn't right. I'm going to turn you in. And then he was like, you know what, though? On second thought. And yeah, another thing they screwed up on, is Dual Fates playing in the background. That's awesome. I love that song. It's probably the best Star Wars song. Even more than Imperial March. Yeah, I said it. But yeah, the whole scene where Mace Windu's like, nope, he has to die. It's like, that's another one. Could have completely avoided that. But again, they're trying to show you how even the Republic itself was kind of corrupt. Granted, not to the extent that Anakin was like, well, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. It's like, yeah, dude, you just killed like 26 children. You don't really have a leg to stand on there. But in all other aspects, he was kind of correct that the council was getting corrupt. And they even tried to... A lot of people don't realize the whole Count Dooku thing, where he was essentially like a double agent. Like, he tried telling Obi-Wan in that scene, he's like, hey, listen, you know, the Republic, they're not that great. They're losing it. There's a Sith Lord in charge of them. And he tried to get Obi-Wan to come to his side, and Obi-Wan was like, yeah, shut up, whatever. You're on the dark side. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. And Count Dooku was like, alright, I tried to warn you. So yeah, he had one of the most interesting characters that they did pretty much nothing with. They should have done a lot more with that plot line of having, like, essentially a rogue Jedi on the Sith side that doesn't really want Palpatine to be in control. He's just kind of playing both sides there. But they never really show that in the movies. And even in the Clone Wars, they don't really dive into it too much. So obviously they go over the fact that he was a former Jedi, but it's pretty much as far as they go. Aside from that one scene where he's like, hey, let's team up, let's take down Palpatine. Obviously he didn't say it was Palpatine, but that was the context of the scene, that they would take down the Sith Lord, and he's just like, nah. I'll let the entire Republic die, I'm good. They can all be turned into the Empire, that's fine. I'm not going to help you out. So yeah, if you view the prequels in that light, where you're just watching mistake after mistake, intentionally, they set it up that way on purpose to show you that the Republic, they got a little too high on themselves, and very, very quickly did not turn out well for them. Which actually I kind of had to Google, because I was wondering why Order 66, which is the order to kill all the Jedi, it's actually more specific than that. It's the order that all of them are labeled as traitors and then murdered. So that's why in a lot of the games and movies you'll hear them call Jedi traitors. It's from that right there, is that the order itself is telling them, hey, they're traitors to the Republic. Which is why a lot of them are pretty much brainwashed, too. Ooh, that was a cool ability. Yeah, so it's not entirely the Empire's fault, because they were lied to from the start. And technically Mace Windu did go to try to kill him, so in Episode 3 he was right that they had a plot to assassinate him. Not entirely true, but, you know, as Obi-Wan says, from a certain perspective. But yeah, I had to Google because I was wondering, like, why... Like, in a slight spoiler ahead, just in case you haven't played it. I mean, you know Order 66, so there's no confusion there. It's not like I'm bringing up anything new. But in Fallen Order, there's a scene where it plays through Cal when he was younger. It plays through, like, a flashback of him living through Order 66. And he was just, like, walking through the hallway, fist-bumping clone troopers. And it was all friendly. And then the order is given, and immediately they just try to kill him. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I get it on certain ones where they have no attachment. Why they would just not even care and just go to kill their generals, which were all Jedi. But I was like, in this case, they're clearly friendly with him. But I looked it up. Apparently, there's a chip in their brain that when the order goes off, they have no control. It's like a sleeper agent. But even more advanced than that, because it's a chip that you cannot have a decision. Once the chip is fired, it's like, well, there you go. Alright, I'm killing Jedi now. So that was one part that I always thought was kind of confusing. Because I know they follow orders better than humans, because they're clones, so they're kind of like programmed that way, to where they listen to what you say, and that's the end of that. Yeah, that was always confusing to me. I was like, why didn't some of them not do it? And turns out, that is why. Alright, time to go over Count Dooku's abilities, which... Never liked his name. I like calling him Darth Tyrannus better. His name just sounds silly, I'm sorry. But yeah, he has Lightning Stun. Count Dooku releases lightning upon his enemies, throwing them to the ground and inflicting harm. This ability does higher damage the less targets it hits. Then you have Duelist. Count Dooku changes to a more offensive lightsaber style, performing faster and more powerful attacks. Then you have Expose Weakness. Count Dooku influences his target with slower movement and an increased amount of damage taken from Dooku and his allies, while also removing any extra health. So, pretty crazy. If he sees to the elimination of his target personally, this ability is instantly recharged. So yeah, he kind of morphs between a defensive and offensive fighter. I'll switch over to the offensive style here. Yeah! Take him out. Yeah, his lightsaber's always been kind of cool. I'm kind of half and half on it. It's obviously a red lightsaber, so it already gets a few points there, but the curve in it, I'm not too big of a fan on. Don't really see the function there. I feel like he'd be better off just having a straight lightsaber. I mean, maybe it's more ergonomic that way, but he doesn't even really hold it where it's curved, so he kind of holds it more to the top. A little too close to the blade, if I'm being honest. I would not put my fingers that close to searing light. It's like, oh yeah, you touch that and your finger will instantly melt. Like, yeah, cool, I'll put my finger right next to it. No thank you. But yeah, the cynical side of me would say that his lightsaber is only curved to sell more toys, which Star Wars has always done and will always continue to do. That's why you notice every movie has something new. And obviously they should put something new in there, but for me it always just kind of hits the cynical part first, where I'm like, did you just put this in here for toys? Like in the newest movie, in Rise of Skywalker, where they had Dio in there, I was like, that's a toy. That's obviously a toy for sure. And then, of course, Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian. And my favorite new character, Babu Frick. I love how he sounds like a baby. It's just the funniest thing ever. Where his speech pattern is like identical to a baby's. Where they're like, hey, Babu, what can we do about this? And he's like, it's funny hearing him talk. I can't do it exactly, but it's kind of like Zack, Psychic Pebbles. It sounds like a voice that he would do, which just makes it even funnier. I'm gonna blast you with lightning, get out of here. Yeah. He just kind of turned his hand and shot to the side there. That's kind of funny. Oh, that was a mistake. Why would you do that? This is all your fault. You could have easily run away. Yeah, again, much like when Grievous is coming at you, if I see a Sith Lord coming after me, I'm just turning around. I'm not... Why would you even invite that conflict? You see a guy deflect lightsaber bolts and shoot lightning out of his hand, and you're like, yeah, I can do that. I can take this guy out. No, you can't. That's what I always thought was funny about that. And these, a lot of the games will treat it, and Rogue One, too, was really good about it, where the normal folk, when you see it from their view, it's like a horror movie. Like at the end of Rogue One, when Darth Vader is coming to retrieve the Death Star plans, and it's just like, it's literally like just Jason coming down a hallway after you. Where it's like, okay, well, what can you do as a regular rebel trooper? Are you gonna kill Vader? Nope. It's just not happening. Yeah, the first thing he does, I think it's like, well, obviously the first thing he does is turn on his lightsaber, so everyone in the audience goes, oh my god. But yeah, the first thing he does is yank all their weapons out of their hands. And then one guy, he just force pushes him, or, he might have actually choked him and pulled him up. But he just grabs one guy and throws him up to the ceiling and keeps him there, and then he walks by and just lightsabers his chest. Which, if it had been a rated R movie, that would have been a much more graphic scene, but obviously they just, which is kind of clever on their end, because the lightsaber cauterizes like as it goes through, so even when they cut off an arm or something like that, it's instantly burned, so there's not like blood spraying out or anything like that, like it would with a sword. So granted, they do have that defense, but also at the same time, like let's say you cut somebody in half with a lightsaber, that's not going to be very clean. There's not going to be a clean cut, which is why they typically don't. They usually just go for the limbs, because it's easy. It's like nothing's gonna come out of the limb. So yeah, it's to keep a PG-13 rating, they kind of have to do that. Actually, a lot of them are just PG. I think the first one that was PG-13 was Revenge of the Sith. Maybe Empire, I'm not sure. It might have been back in the day when PG covered PG-13 as well. I'm gonna blast you with lightning. Yeah. Yeah, Count Dooku's an interesting one. They could have done a lot more with his character, because they fleshed him out a little bit in the Clone Wars. I mean, I'm not really that far into it, so I don't know how much further they go with the character, but they could have done a lot more with like the whole double agent on the Sith side story. They didn't really do much with that. But yeah, I do like when you see it from the soldier's perspective, when you have like a Jedi or a Sith coming at them, because they're just like, well, alright, none of our attacks are useful here. It's just... You just die. That's the end of that. Alright, so that was Anakin and Count Dooku, which now that I think back to it, they might have already been in the game. You know what? Maybe not. I'm not sure. So I do have Anakin leveled up pretty high, so I don't know how else that would happen. Because I know for an absolute fact that Darth Maul and Yoda were at launch, and those might have been the only clone characters. Because they're in order of release, I think. I'm almost entirely positive, because I know... Actually, I don't even know for sure. But I think Finn and Phasma were added. I don't think they were here at launch. So I think for the light side, you only had Kylo and Rey for this era. I mean, you may have had these two. Maybe these two were added as DLC in the first... No, actually, no, they couldn't have been, because the first one was just the Galactic... What do you call it? The Galactic Civil War. I'm very confused. I actually don't... I think all 6 of these are all DLC. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, they might be new. Either way, there they are anyway, just in case they are new, which I think they are. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. Don't know what will be up next, but it'll be something else. I'm trying to go through my back catalog of videos that I haven't uploaded yet, so I'll get caught up there. I'll try to be a lot more active this year, and that'll start next week, which if you're watching this, next week was last week. This week. It's confusing, but they're a little bit ahead of schedule. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video, whatever that may be.